Welcome back to another Nothing But Nugs episode. We're really excited to bring you guys some more content today. It's certainly been quite an off season, super eventful for the Nuggets. I remember, Charlie, at the end of last season, we weren't sure exactly how many moves this front office were going to make, but at this point, it's a completely different roster. There's completely different vibes, I'm sure, in the locker room heading into this upcoming season. And so we're excited to bring you guys some more content today, kind of our analysis breaking down what we think about our roster, what we think about our odds, some of the recent moves that have been made, like Christian Braun, what the value is for a re-signing like that. And it's going to be great. So we're excited.
Yeah, exactly. So just starting off, we saw the Nuggets weren't afraid to make the moves they needed to make. I think they saw the window of Nikola Jokic. Not that it's slowing down or not that we see it closing anytime soon, but I think they realized that when you have the best player in the whole entire world at basketball, you got to surround him with guys that have a similar vision or kind of want to play off of him. So we look at the guys that he signed. I think it was a super good signing to obviously let MPJ go. I think they got exactly what they needed in Cam Johnson. He's a guy who plays off ball so well, makes the big shots when you need to. And we're looking at veteran signings that we got. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. If you don't know Tim Hardaway Jr., he was on the Pistons last year. Obviously, the Pistons had a great series against the Knicks, and he was a guy that they relied on deep down the stretch to make big plays. So he's going to come bring that veteran presence that we need in the locker room, kind of like what Russell Westbrook did last year, but a guy that I think is going to contribute more in the offensive end.
Absolutely. Completely agree there. Had a great run with the Pistons. I also like some of the other moves that really rounded out the roster quite nicely in Bruce Brown, which is just coming back. Denver loves him. He had quite the run with us just a few years ago. And then also Valanciunas, just giving another like European center, big man feel to go along with Jokic. I think they're going to enjoy playing together a lot. I think they'll have a special bond there in the front court, which will be exciting to see as well. Charlie, so of all the players that they signed, and it was great, in my opinion, that the offseason was eventful and there were moves that were made because I think for a front office, it's invigorating, it's motivating, it's inspiring. You get this fresh new outlook on basketball, on the season. There's different sets that you can run. There's a different feel in the locker room. It stays fresh. Whereas I was kind of concerned at the end of last season. You have MPJ, you have Jamal Murray, Jokic, the same core, the continuity there. People can kind of get bored, fall into some routines, fall into some bad habits. Of all the players that we've re-signed this offseason or brought into the locker room, who are you most excited about? Who are you most looking to see an immediate impact be made? And what impact are you seeing to be made by each of these players that are joining the team?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think about it, you have to think about Nikola Jokic and how these signings affect him. And I think thinking back to the last couple of years, the Nuggets haven't ever had a backup center that you can rely on. They had DeAndre Jordan last year, who, I mean, you'd be holding your breath every time he'd have the ball. You got guys that are just kind of coming in to fill minutes, but I think you can allow Jonas Valanciunas to come in and he can give you those end of first quarter 4 minutes down to the buzzer to kind of ease you into letting you. He can run maybe the front court for a little bit. He can be okay. You can trust him with the ball. He's not going to make super stupid decisions, and he knows his role. He knows he's going to get rebounds. He's going to finish. He's going to put back. And I think when you think about the backup centers that were in the Nuggets, they didn't have a role. They weren't established. I mean, DeAndre Jordan, but he was far washed. So some of these guys were kind of looking for their role, but Jonas knows exactly what he's there to do. And I think Bruce Brown, once he left the Nuggets, obviously it wasn't the Bruce Brown that they had on the Nuggets. But, I mean, there's nothing saying that he's not going to come back and do the exact same thing. And I think Tim Hardaway is going to also provide that shooting. And then, like I said, we're seeing that veteran presence is huge in that these teams need it in order to go far. So I think those two are obviously the key signings. And then Cam Johnson is a guy who doesn't turn the ball over but makes super smart decisions as well.
Absolutely. That was incredible analysis. Walking through every single one of those players one by one. I think that was incredibly well articulated. I think another thing that can't be overstated, especially with Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, guys like this that are only getting a year older every time we start a new season like we are, the depth was a huge question mark heading into this upcoming season. You look just anecdotally at what the Oklahoma City Thunder did, not just in winning the championship, but how they're able to sustain winning basketball through the grind that is the NBA season from October to April/May for the finals. You look at this roster, you look at this backcourt, Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway, Cam Johnson, Julian Strawther, Jalen Pickett even. There are guys that just get buckets. You don't know what night these guys are just going to walk in, have the hot hand, just light up Ball Arena with like 6 or 7 threes, get the Nuggets over the hump for win number 47. But that stuff really adds up. And I'm a lot more confident in sustaining excellence throughout the course of the regular season with the depth that they've been able to achieve here at this roster compared to where they were at just 12 months ago. So I'm very excited about that aspect of basketball as well.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. Like you said, every win adds up. There's 82 games. So, you obviously know what you're going to get from Nikola Jokic, but at the same time, you're looking at these guys and thinking about Christian Brown, who just got that huge contract, and you were going over some of the guys for everyone that knows ball pretty well. There's some big name guys that Christian Brown is getting paid more than. So I think the Nuggets are putting a lot into Christian Brown, but I think he's worth it. That's $25 million a year, but at the same time, he does so much for the Nuggets that sometimes doesn't show up in the stat sheet. That's so important that he comes to play every single night to the arena and is going to defend a lot of times their best player and also help off on guys. He does so much that's just so valuable to how the Nuggets play. And it's another guy that you can trust, that you know that he's going to make the right move. He's not going to try and take the ball away from Jokic. Jokic is going to make everybody on the court better. And I think that's gone a long way with Christian Brown's career. And he knows exactly how to play with Jokic to benefit both of their games. So that was huge.
Yeah, completely agree there. There's some guys in the NBA where you're like, holy crap, the production that I'm going to get out of this guy is just extraordinarily volatile. Like the variance is just incredibly large. There's guys like Cam Thomas, like tonight he struggled like in the season opener. And this is supposed to be his like make it or break it. I'm trusting myself. I just like in what we saw with him contractually in the offseason. Guys like Trae Young, similar vibe. But Christian Brown, due to the nature of shots that he's taking, due to the gravity that Jokic obviously takes on the offensive side of things, like his production is incredibly sustainable. And so I wanted to just run through a list of names in the NBA that are making this 24 to like $28 million range salary, which is exactly what Christian Brown is going to make. It's 5 years, $125 million, so it's $25 million annual. And just as I say these names, just think through like Christian Brown compared to these players. I don't know to the ears of our listeners how this sounds, but we want to create the argument that this is actually money pretty well spent. Talk about guys like Josh Giddey, who makes $25 million a year, Miles Bridges, Miles Turner, Draymond Green is making $25 million a year, John Collins, Tobias Harris, Terry Rozier, Anthony Simons, RJ Barrett makes $25 million a year. Isaiah Hartenstein makes $30 million a year. CJ McCollum is making $31 million a year. If all those guys are making that much money, there's got to be space for a young player who has shown a track record of continuing to grow, continuing to improve meteorically offseason after offseason. Like I don't see – obviously, this team is a lot more deep than it was in the past. And so maybe his production doesn't like jump this year like it did before. But don't get it twisted. Like his presence, his consistency, shooting 40% of his threes like straight to the bottom of the net and guarding the other team's best player, that's going to be a steal of a contract for Denver over the next 5 years. I really do believe that is a good price that they just locked in for Christian Brown.
I agree. I think with the Nuggets too, I think they're arguably the team in the NBA that has the highest ceiling and also the highest floor. This team isn't capable of barely sneaking into the play-in or anything like that. Their floor is 4 or 5, I think 4 or 5 seed. And that's worst case scenario. And their ceiling, it's 1 seed and it's the championship. I think them and maybe 3 or 4 other teams you can honestly say that they have a straight shot to the NBA championship if everything goes their way. So looking at this roster, I mean, the rotation is gonna take a couple games, like all rotations will, to kind of see who plays best with who. What minutes do you want to give to some of those guys that are coming onto the team? How much do you want to trust in Cam Johnson in a new system? I think these are decisions for David Adelman, but I think that they're decisions that any coach would want to have. And I think there's a lot of right answers too. I think there's a lot of lineups that are gonna have good production. I think there's a lot of players that are going to work well with each other, because Denver isn't a team that they're trying to get theirs. Cam Johnson isn't going to shoot 25 shots and do all this. Like, there's not going to be a guy on the floor that's trying to get his, because a lot of these guys are proven NBA players and they know what they got to do to win.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a perfect combination of winning basketball that they've maintained over the past decade, which has been incredible. They got over the hump. They won a championship. I feel like some teams are like still have that like boulder sitting on their shoulders, and like it's difficult to overcome that. Frankly, there's like 5. There's a short list, but there's a legitimate list of teams like that in the NBA that just haven't been able to overcome that. Other thing I just was going to say is, like, if you think about it, if you're in the shoes of David Adelman, in the way that you get this job, this is a roster that essentially you're just inheriting. And now with all this like freshness that is pumped into the roster, like there's a good amount of continuity with what's important here, but there's enough novelty now to the point where he can define himself as a coach's roster. But he's really able to carve his own path here and create his own identity, his own brand. This is his first real like opportunity as a coach. And so what do you think we'll see out of him? What growth are you expecting to realize as far as your asset for David Adelman is concerned?
Exactly. I mean, that's a great question. I think I liked what you said about he doesn't have to be anyone else. He doesn't have to be Mike Malone. He doesn't have to be Steve Kerr. He doesn't have to be these great coaches who have had success. He's got to carve his own way. He's got to show a different way that can take these Nuggets back to where they want to go. I think you're seeing this around the league a lot with these coaches who are trying to make their way into that status. I think Rick Carlisle for the Pacers has a super good reputation, which is why, off note, I think the Pacers are going to be super good, because it goes back to the coach. I mean, you think about the NBA, you think about the MLB and the NFL. I think the NBA is probably it has the biggest effect on the coach's decisions, because one wrong move, there's 5 guys on the court. If you're putting someone that maybe switches off to a guy that can't defend this guy, it'll come back to haunt you. So I think I want to see, and I think we've seen it from David Adelman. He's not afraid to do things that other coaches wouldn't do. He's not afraid to play guys down the stretch. He's not afraid to take out or put in guys that they need to and keep guys in when they're hot. So I think working with this rotation, making moves he has to do, and kind of see how this 2025, 2026 Nuggets is going to fare, and how not load management per se, because I think the Nuggets don't need to do that, but how to keep those unneeded miles off of guys like Christian Brown, like Jokic and Jamal Murray, that he's going to need come May and June when they're hoisting that Larry O'Brien.
Yeah, I completely agree. It comes down to sustainability. Like, the Thunder didn't take any steps back this offseason. I wanted to think like more in this current landscape of the NBA as well. Like, it's a great point that you're making. And this team really is built to go the distance. But what would be your short list, Chuck, of like 3 or 4 squads that could impede their path to hoisting that Larry O'Brien, like you said? What do you see as their biggest competition right now?
And I want to hear what you say about this, but I think on the West side, if you're looking, I think the Thunder, I think the Timberwolves have had the Nuggets number for a while. Yeah. I think guys like Anthony Edwards elevate their games when they're seeing that they're going to go against the best. So I think those 2 teams, and I think the Warriors are also a team. I watched them yesterday. I think they have a really deep team, and they have an identity that a lot of teams haven't found yet because of those guys have played together for a little bit, and Jimmy Butler fits right in. So I think, looking at it tomorrow, they have that test, that season opener against the Warriors, and that's going to be a good tell of what they're going to do and how they're going to fare against these guys. Who do you think? I mean, obviously the Thunder, but what do you think are the obstacles for the Nuggets coming up this year that might hold them back from getting to their ultimate goal?
I think it's a really fair question. I'm just looking at so much has happened just in the past few days as well. I'll just go on a little bit of a tangent here. You look at how LeBron kind of is just behaving. He kind of has a track record of this throughout his career, but throwing a little bit of a tantrum because obviously the keys to the city no longer are in his hands. Mm-hmm. You see kind of how they performed without him. DeAndre Ayton doesn't look great. So the Lakers, traditionally in the past years, top 5 team in the West, I don't really see them genuinely being that competitive. Could bite those words later. You look at the Rockets, you're going to see jumps. Don't get me wrong, for a lot of players on that squad this year. But no Fred VanVleet is really going to hurt. And KD's pretty old, so we'll see. You look at the Spurs, Wemby, can he stay on the floor? You look at the Suns, they're going to suck. Portland Trailblazers, Kings, I don't know if you're going to get much out of them. Timberwolves are going to be solid, but they never really have been able to get that extra player. They were in that KD conversation a lot, but they weren't able to get that guy. You got the Clippers, which is quite literally the unction. You got there's Mavericks vibes, but Coop is still very much unproven as far as just an NBA player. The Pelicans are the Pelicans, dude, and the Warriors are freaking old too. So it's Denver and Thunder, dude. It's there's 2 squads in the West, and so you said their floor of being 4 or 5. If I was a betting man, if I was a sports betting man, I'm putting the Nuggets firmly top 3 finish in the West, and I'm feeling really good about whatever those odds are because I just don't see enough from the other squads to really compete with how talented this roster is. So I know that doesn't really answer your question fully, but I just think, listen, for anybody listening to this, it's an exciting season ahead because you're a lot deeper. You're going to be able to sustain this excellent basketball over the grind of the season. You're probably going to be a lot healthier, probably going to be a lot more energized heading into the playoffs, and you're going to have a much more balanced offensive and defensive and deep team to be able to compete with the Thunder to get there. So I think there's a lot to be excited for here.
Exactly. I think if you're a Nuggets fan, this is the year that you want to buy in. You want to buy into this team. You want to do everything you can to watch these games, to watch how they move, how Jokic is playing off ball, all these things you want to watch, and you want to get your basketball mind out because you got the Avs, you got these teams that are good. In Denver I think it's one of the best sports cities there is. So if you're a Nuggets fan, your high beam should be going off. You should get excited, try and carve out time to go to Ball Arena, be loud. I mean, do everything you can to really look at how this team is being worked, because this team they've got championship goals, and I think a letdown season would be making it to the playoffs and maybe winning one round. I think this team is capable of everything. So we're excited.
Completely agree, and we're going to be consistent here. Going to give you guys some content consistently throughout the season. Really excited about it. Thank you to anybody listening, and we're excited to keep this rolling. So go Nugs!
Yes, sir. Go Nugs!